I gave my number to a stranger during my Tinder date and told my date we were nothing. Then he left without paying for my dinner. It's ridiculous. Men are so selfish. They want to own you even before dating. I firmly believe that there are certain unwritten rules, certain basic codes of conduct that separate men from boys. Chivalry is one of them. And I have just discovered in the most humiliating and public way possible that chivalry is dead and has been murdered by a generation of men who are so incredibly sensitive and literal that they are incapable of fulfilling the most fundamental role in the dating game: paying the bill. I am sitting alone in an expensive restaurant with half a bill that I cannot afford, and all because of the childish tantrum of a man who couldn't handle a situation with a minimum of class. The night started out well, or at least acceptably well. I had a first date with a guy from Tinder named Marcos. His profile was decent, smiling photos, a stable job in marketing. He seemed normal. He invited me to a trendy Italian restaurant, which was a good point in his favor. A man who knows how to choose a good restaurant shows that he is willing to make an effort. He arrived on time, was well-dressed, was polite. In short, he met the minimum requirements. The conversation was fine. We talked about work, travel, the series we were watching. He was kind, attentive, laughed at my jokes, but there was something that didn't quite click. I didn't feel that spark, that electricity that tells you you're in front of someone special. It was a pleasant, but predictable date. While he was telling me a very long anecdote about a marketing campaign, my mind began to wander. I found myself nodding and smiling on autopilot, while inside I was thinking that this would probably be another first and last date. It's not that he was a bad guy, he just wasn't my type. But I am polite. My plan was to finish dinner, let him pay like a gentleman, thank him for a lovely evening, and then gradually disappear with the classic, "I've been very busy." It was standard protocol. There was no need for drama or to hurt his feelings. It was a simple matter of dating etiquette. The unexpected twist of the night, the moment that changed everything, happened on my way to the bathroom. As I was walking between the tables, my eyes met those of the most handsome man I have ever seen in my life. He was at the bar alone, waiting for a drink. He was tall, with a perfect jawline and an intense gaze that made me stumble slightly. It was one of those instant movie-like connections. He smiled at me and I, on an impulse, a wave of boldness I didn't even know I had, smiled back. On my way back from the bathroom, I had to pass by the bar again, and he was there, waiting for me. He slightly blocked my path with a playful smile. He told me, "I couldn't let you leave without knowing your name." He was so direct, so self-assured. The antithesis of the nice, but boring Marcos who was waiting for me at the table. We talked for no more than a minute. The chemistry was explosive, and in that minute, before the bartender gave him his drink, he took out his phone and told me, "Give me your number." I promised to use it. And I, without a second's hesitation, gave it to him. I returned to the table feeling as if I had received an electric shock. I was euphoric, radiant. The night, which until then had been mediocre, had suddenly become exciting. The encounter had been so quick and discreet that I was sure Marcos hadn't noticed anything. But when I sat down, his expression had changed. There was a tension on his face, an inquisitive look. He asked me with a forced calmness, "Everything okay? You took a while." And I, still floating on my cloud, made the mistake of being honest, or at least partially honest. I laughed and told him, "Yes, everything's great. In fact, something really funny just happened. A gorgeous guy stopped me at the bar and asked for my number." How crazy. I said it in a light tone, sharing a funny anecdote, expecting him to laugh with me, maybe even make a joke about his competition. Marcos's reaction was not what I expected. He didn't laugh. He didn't even smile. His face hardened, he put his cutlery down on the plate and looked at me with an expression of disbelief. He said, "Is this a joke? Are you telling me you gave your number to another man in the middle of our date?" His tone was no longer kind. It was accusatory, offended. I was a bit thrown off by his intensity. I tried to calm him down. I told him, "Hey, relax, it's not a big deal." The guy was incredibly handsome. It was an impulse. Besides, what does it matter? And then, to make clear how absurd his reaction was, I uttered the phrase that, in my opinion, should have ended the discussion. I told him, "It's not like we're anything. It's just a first date. We are nothing." I believed that sentence would put him in his place, that it would make him realize he was overreacting, being possessive, that it would remind him he had no right to be jealous. In my mind, it was the ultimate declaration of independence, a way of saying, "You're not my boyfriend, you can't control me." I expected him to feel a little embarrassed and apologize for his outburst. Instead, something very strange happened. His face, which had been tense and angry, suddenly relaxed. A small, cold, joyless smile appeared on his lips. He looked me straight in the eye, nodded slowly, and said with a calm that chilled my blood, "You're absolutely right, Laura. We are nothing." After saying that, he was silent for a moment, as if processing his own revelation. And then, with a quiet and methodical efficiency, he took out his wallet. He didn't ask for the bill. He looked at the check the waiter had left on the table earlier. He took out a couple of bills, counted them carefully, and left them on the table. They were not enough to cover the whole bill. They were, I realized with growing horror, the exact amount to pay for his pasta dish and his glass of wine. Not a cent more. He got up from his chair, put on his jacket, and looked at me one last time. With that same icy smile, he said, "Thanks for the conversation. Have a good night." And he turned around and left. He left. He just left, leaving me there alone at the table, with my half-eaten dish, half the bill, and a feeling of total disbelief. I sat there, paralyzed for a couple of minutes, hoping it was a bad joke, that he would come back laughing. But he didn't come back. The waiter came over, saw the money on the table and me alone, and looked at me with a mixture of pity and confusion. "Is the lady going to pay the rest?" he asked. The humiliation was absolute. I had to rummage through my purse, gathering what little cash I had and paying the rest with my debit card, praying I had enough funds. I am outraged. Outraged. What kind of man does something like that? The thing with my number was silly, an anecdote, but what he has done is a statement of principle. He has violated the most fundamental code of chivalry. The man invites, the man pays. Especially on a first date. His act was not a response to my behavior. It was a childish tantrum, a cheap and petty act of revenge. He has shown that he is not a gentleman. He is a boy who, when he doesn't get what he wants, takes his ball and goes home. This can't be left like this. His behavior is unacceptable, and I am not going to be the only one to suffer the consequences of his lack of class. This is no longer about the failed date, not even about the money. It's a matter of principle. I can't let this man go through life thinking he can treat women this way, that he can humiliate someone publicly and get away with it. He needs a lesson. I've been thinking about it, and my plan is simple, but effective. I am going to demand that he pay me what he owes me. Not because I need the money, but because I need him to acknowledge his obligation. I'm not going to call him. I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of a confrontation. I'm going to be cold and professional, like him. I'm going to send him a text message. In it, I will attach a clear photo of the dinner receipt with my part of the bill circled in red, and below, I will write a text that leaves no room for doubt. Something like, "Hello, Marcos. I guess in the rush of your escape you forgot to settle your part of the invitation. As you are clearly unfamiliar with the basic rules of dating etiquette, let me remind you, when a man invites a woman to dinner, he pays the bill. It's the definition of being a gentleman. I am attaching my bank details so you can rectify your shameful oversight." Thank you. It's the perfect move. It's direct, it's sharp, and it puts him in an impossible position. If he pays me, he admits his mistake and his lack of chivalry. If he doesn't pay me, he confirms himself as the cheapskate he has proven to be. In any case, I win the moral battle. I'm not being spiteful. I am performing an act of public service, educating a man on how he should behave and, in the process, getting back the money his tantrum has cost me. It's a situation where everyone, except perhaps his ego, wins. Popular comments from Reddit. Anonymous user 1. Your ability to not see the direct connection between your actions and his is truly astonishing. You told him to his face that your time together had no value, we are nothing, while you were actively seeking out another man. And he responded in the same way. He showed you that your time for him had no monetary value either. He didn't break the rules of chivalry. He simply applied your own rule. We are nothing to the situation. It was a brilliant checkmate. Reply from the OP. You are mixing up two things that have nothing to do with each other. The status of the relationship is one thing and social etiquette is another. The fact that we are nothing romantically does not nullify his duty as a host and as a man to pay the bill for the date he proposed. They are two different codes of conduct, and he has violated the second out of spite for the first. Anonymous user 2. He is not a gentleman. You're clinging to a 19th century ideal of chivalry, but your own behavior is that of someone who has no respect for her date at all. You want him to fulfill traditional gender roles, paying the bill, but you reserve the right to act as you please, without any consideration for his feelings. You can't have it all. If you want a modern relationship where you can give your number to others, then be prepared for a split bill. Reply from the OP. It's not a matter of traditional or modern, it's a matter of class and good manners. A classy man would never, under any circumstances, leave a woman alone with the bill. His behavior shows a lack of upbringing and elegance, and that is neither traditional nor modern, it's just tacky. Anonymous user 3. Your plan to demand the money is a terrible escalation that will only make you look more petty and obsessed. He has already moved on and you, instead of doing the same, are planning to harass him for 50 euros. You are so focused on winning the moral battle that you don't realize you have already lost it. You lost it the moment you disrespected him to his own face. Reply from the OP. It's not about the 50 euros, it's the principle. It's the act of forcing him to acknowledge his mistake. And I'm not obsessed, I'm outraged, which is different, and my outrage is justified. I'm not going to let myself be walked all over and be made to pay for it, literally. Update 1. My plan, my brilliant and just plan to teach him a lesson, has had a result that is both a victory and an even greater humiliation. I sent the message, the photo of the receipt, my account number, the sarcastic text about chivalry. I hit send with a sense of righteous triumph. I was expecting one of two things, either a silence that would confirm his cowardice or an angry message that would give me the opportunity for a second round. What I got was much more twisted. Less than 5 minutes later, I received a notification from my banking app. He had made a transfer to me. It had worked. I felt a surge of satisfaction. He had caved, he had admitted his mistake. But my triumph was short-lived. I went to the app to see the transfer details, and then I saw the reference. Instead of writing dinner or refund, he had written a message. A message that, on the cold interface of the banking app, shone with a calculated malice. The transfer reference said, refund for a failed date due to the guest's lack of manners and respect. Payment made as per the verbal agreement that we are nothing. I hope this closes our non-relationship. All the best. And to top it off, the amount transferred wasn't just my share. He had transferred me the total amount for the dinner, including his part, as if he were paying me for my wasted time, or worse, as if I were a service. I stared at the screen with my blood boiling. He had found a way to pay me and at the same time have the last word, to humiliate me in a digital and permanent way. He had paid me, yes, but he had done it on his own terms, reaffirming his narrative and painting me as the sole culprit. Immediately after, I tried to reply to him, but my message was not delivered. He had blocked me. And when I went to Tinder to give him a piece of my mind, I saw that he had also unmatched me. He had erased me, but not before leaving his final mark. Popular comments from Reddit about the update. 1. Anonymous user 4. Your ex-date is my new idol. He is a master of passive-aggressive revenge. He complied with your demand to pay you, but he did it in a way that stripped you of any moral victory. The transfer reference is a work of art and, by overpaying you, he has put you in a position of moral debt. He has won this round spectacularly. Reply from the OP. He hasn't won anything. He has once again demonstrated his immaturity and his need to have the last word. A real man would have transferred the money in silence and left the matter settled. His need to add that sarcastic comment is proof of his fragile ego. Anonymous user 5. You played a stupid game and won a stupid prize. You demanded the money on principle and he gave it to you, but it has cost you your dignity. His message is brutal, but it's the direct result of your own provocation. What did you expect? A transfer with the reference, "Sorry for not wanting to stay on a date while you were giving your number to someone else?" Reply from the OP, "I expected a silent transfer, an act of a gentleman admitting his mistake. Instead, I received the act of a child writing an insult on a bathroom wall. His behavior remains indefensible." Anonymous user 6, refund for a failed date due to the guest's lack of manners. I'm sorry, but I'm laughing out loud. He gave you exactly what you asked for, but with a twist that has left you with no arguments. He has thrown your own logic back in your face, and now you have no reason to contact him again. He has closed the case in a clean and devastating way. Reply from the OP, "It's not devastating, it's pathetic." And he hasn't left me without arguments. He has simply blocked my ability to give them to him. It's a victory by default, not a real victory. Final update. A month has passed since the transfer incident. A month in which I have tried, with all my might, to forget Marcos and his arrogance. And I have focused on something much more promising, the guy from the bar, the gorgeous and mysterious stranger. After a couple of weeks of flirty messages, we finally had our first date. I went to the date feeling vindicated. My impulse, my audacity in that restaurant had been worth it. This new guy, whose name is Alex, is everything Marcos was not: exciting, spontaneous, incredibly attractive. The date was perfect, the conversation was brilliant, the chemistry was undeniable. We went to a very cool cocktail bar. I felt that the universe was finally rewarding me. At the end of the night, after 2 hours of an incredible connection, we asked for the bill. And then something happened that brought me back down to earth with a thud. Alex took out his wallet and I took out mine out of pure courtesy, expecting him to protest and say, "My treat." But he didn't. He looked at me with the most charming smile in the world and said, "Should we split it?" No, I always pay half on first dates. I think it's the fairest and most modern thing to do. I fell silent, with my credit card in my hand. I tried to make a joke. I said something like, "What happened to chivalry?" And he, without losing his smile, told me, "Chivalry is treating someone with respect. And for me, the most respectful thing is to treat a woman as an equal." And equals split the bill. I paid my half. The rest of the night was a bit of a blur. We said goodbye with a promising kiss, but as I was walking home, a sense of bitterness settled in my stomach. And at that moment, I understood. Maybe the world had changed and I hadn't noticed. Maybe the chivalry I demanded was a relic of the past. And maybe Marcos, with his act of paying only for his share, wasn't being cheap or ungentlemanly. He was simply applying the same logic that this new and exciting guy considered fair and modern. Maybe it wasn't a tantrum, maybe he simply treated me as an equal, without privileges. And that idea, that maybe I was wrong, is honestly much more humiliating than having had to pay for my own dinner. Popular comments from Reddit about the final update. Anonymous user 1, "Wow, a character arc in 3 acts. You've gone from righteous indignation to a bitter reflection. The universe didn't punish you, it educated you. And it did so through 2 different men who, in different styles, taught you the same lesson. In the modern dating world, respect is a two-way street. If you demand to be treated as an equal, with the freedom to give your number to whoever you want, you have to accept the responsibilities of an equal, paying your share." Reply from the app, "I guess so." It's a hard lesson to swallow. It feels like the rules have changed without me getting the memo, and I'm not sure I like the new rules. Anonymous user 7, "This is the most perfect conclusion possible. You haven't won or lost. You have simply learned. And you have learned in the most subtle and effective way. Your new ideal guy has taught you the same lesson as Marcos, but without the emotional baggage, which has allowed you to see it clearly. Marcos wasn't the villain, he was just the first messenger. And you shot him?" Reply from the app, "I shot the messenger." I guess that's a good way to sum it up. I still think his method was petty, but now I understand his logic a little better. And that is incredibly frustrating. Anonymous user 8, "This story is a journey. Thanks for sharing the conclusion. It's rare to see a moment of true self-awareness here. The feeling of ridiculousness you describe is the sound of your ego breaking, and that's a good thing. It's the beginning of real growth. Now the question is, do you like Alex enough to keep splitting the bill? Reply from the app. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I don't know. I guess I'll have to decide if his pretty face is worth half of an expensive bill.